Come on, come on, come on. Jam out in your own mind with whatever playlist song you got going on in there. I feel like one of the secrets to life, at least my success, is always to have a song playing in the back of your mind. You know what I mean? Just like always have an internal playlist going. Some of you were just on there we go. Can we all hear? We're good. We're live everywhere. Some of you guys were just on the quick little live that I did on Instagram super quick. And I was just like, oh man, like I got to get in the flow. I am not in the flow. I am not feeling it right now. How do you get in the flow when you do not feel it? And you've got clients and you've got a live and then you've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. You put on an amazing epic playlist and you can't generate that outside of you in some way, shape, or form, radio, phone, anything. If you do not have an electronic device that emits musical tones, then find it inside. Everybody's heard a song in their own mind, right? Secret to life, secret to staying in a positive state, secret to success. That's my tip number 1. All right. And if you are just jumping on today, I'm bringing up, I have like 3 screens up right now. I've got my notes, I've got the live, and then I've got the YouTube just in case there's comments that come in. So what up, everybody who's just jumping on and watching the live, I see you, or if you're watching the replay. There we go. Okay, cool. So put comments if you have, if not, no sweat. I will be diving in today. Like, I just wanted to keep it like super simple, clean, fast checklist, okay? For 6 steps that, yes, I have done. So I never teach anything that I haven't done myself first and had success with. Because some things I've done a lot of and I failed at, happy to still teach those. But anything that I share or teach is always something that I have done as well as had success with. So we're going to be doing the 6 steps that I personally use to get to the first 6 figures. So you are either just starting or you are starting again something new. So this is brand new coaches, consultants. You either haven't reached that 6 figures yet and you just want an easy like checklist and just somebody give me a roadmap, please. Or you've maybe rebranded, or you're launching something new, or it might be a completely separate part of your business, a new product, a new service, something like that. And you just want kind of that reminder, like checklist to then getting that next branch of your business, product or service to then that 6 figures. Okay, so that's going to apply for all of you guys. And I just wanted to put it into like, just really clear, like bullet point terms. So I've got my notes over here, and then I may talk on like brief sections on that, on just things that have worked for me and not worked for me. But ultimately, like, get your notepads out, jot this down wherever you can write it or type it, that then you can leave up either on your computer or like put it on your refrigerator or something like that. Because one of the other things that I've noticed that has helped me is just, along with my other 30 tabs, maybe you're the same, I will always have like that full like roadmap, right? The broad stroke roadmap, that vision roadmap with the bullet points so that I can track wherever I am in my business, or I can see maybe like where I'm getting stuck, or maybe where I haven't put enough attention, right? You kind of just, it just becomes part of like the ritual, the business ritual, right? Just like waking up and, you know, eating healthy and doing some yoga and stretching. And then the first thing is self time. Okay, let's just be real. Second thing is, before you get into clients, before you get into anything, like look at your roadmap, look at your checklist for your business. Okay, so I just want to like set you up for that, because that is one of the biggest things that has definitely worked for me, is just always having that on somewhere that I can actually like see it all the time, right? I live by my calendar because I have client sessions or launches or whatever it is that I'm doing. So like, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't get done. If I don't see it on my calendar, I won't reference it. So right next to my calendar is the roadmap. Those 2 things above all, along with all of the other 30 tabs that you have on your computer, that part. Okay. What's up, everybody who's just jumping on watching live? Hi, beautiful. Hi, gorgeous. Hi, handsome. Okay. So that being said, we are step number 1. Okay. In the 6 steps to reaching your first 6 figures. Now, I just want to say that at every next level of growth, you're going to have different steps within, right? So again, you're either just starting or you're starting something new again, but this is just getting to that 6 figures. So I feel like this is like overly said, but it's first and you can't get away from it, right? And that is find the audience that you want to work with and the problem that you help them solve. Okay, I'm sure we've all heard that so many times, but again, this is also a reminder. So just having that really clearly defined, you are either going to start from the perspective of, oh, I really want to work with these people, or, oh, I really want to solve this problem. And which one feels most fun for you? Right? When I have pivoted and made a completely different offer in something, I came from the perspective of, oh, I want to work with these people now because I started with something. Both are equally successful and beneficial, right? So there's no right or wrong. I want to just say that. But I had started first with the perspective of, oh, this is the problem. And I'm so passionate about solving this. And then that was, who are those target audiences, right? And then I was like, wow, if this works for them, imagine what it will do for this audience. And I feel really passionate about reaching over here and working with these other audiences or this other audience now. And so always just following that perspective of what feels good for you, what feels fun, because no matter what, no matter which step you are in this list or where you are in your business, not everything is going to feel fun all the time. But if you're in the alignment of like this, I'm passionate about, then all of that momentous energy is what's going to keep you inspired and motivated, right? Motivated. Inspired, let's say. So I always start with knowing, right? The disclaimer is business is not always fun. And that's not what I mean, but starting with what is going to feel fun for you? What are you passionate about doing? If it's coming from that energetic place, that will fuel you through every hiccup, through every failure, through every challenge, through every speed bump that you are guaranteed to approach and have to deal with, right? I like to say too, and I've heard many mentors tell me this as well, it's like, you don't really know how to handle business until you've had a couple failures, right? And I have had amazing successes, and I've had failures in launches, and I've had failures in products, and I've had failures in just, right? And they're golden rings, right? We call them failures and nobody likes that word. And a long time ago, my mama said, what if failures were like golden rings? Like, how many rings would you have? So failures are like gold rings, or failures are like diamonds. How many diamonds you want? Because that's going to be the value of your business too. Okay. So comment if this is resonating as well. And I'll come back to looking at the comments if you're watching live or if you're watching this replay. Cool. So find either which one are you most passionate about right now? The audience that you want to work with, the type of people, what they got going on, or the specific problem that you solve for them. Okay. And that is quote unquote your niche. I am a believer that you can include multiple, for those of my multi-creatives out there, high visionaries out there, you can include multiple aspects within one niche. I will show you in step 2, next step, on how exactly to do that. Okay. Because there is specific. So you kind of have to choose a niche, but then you can have aspects within that. Okay. So that brings me to number 2. This is my favorite one. I feel like I really do, because everybody talks most about marketing your business, how to like get it out there, all of that stuff. And yet the most important, more important, I'm going to just say, okay, I'm going to say the thing you're not supposed to say. I'm going to say the uncommon opinion. I'm going to say the thing that most people don't, but those that are truly successful actually know, is that branding comes first. Always, always, always. it comes first. We don't always do it first. I have been equally guilty of that. Because when I got in, I was super ambitious and I was just like, oh, let's do this and let's just get it out there. And then I had to come back and actually do some tangible aspects with branding. So I say it should always be done first, but I'm right there where I have made the mistake and did not do it first. So if you're rebranding, or if you're starting something new and you've already been in the game a minute, you already know this. You already know this lesson. But if you are starting right off the bat, do not, I'll say it this way, take some time to build the brand first. The DNA, the foundation, it's the foundation of the home, right? Marketing is like painting. I often say that marketing is like dating, right? And then the branding is what builds trust. So don't go dating if you don't know how to build the trust, or if you're not going to bring them back to a place that is about building trust, right? So I have made my own mistakes in that, and I had to go through and really just clean some stuff up in the business. And that's okay. So no matter where you are, everything's okay. Coming from a perfectionist. So that's okay. So what I mean by building your brand is getting to that core element of the DNA, right? Something that will reflect the niche. I'm a big fan of brand architecture and a big fan of brand archetypes. Thinking about branding though is, yes, it builds trust, but it's not fashion, and it's fashion and colors, but it's not just, that's like the painting on the house, right? That's like the icing on the cake. But true essence of branding is experience. It's emotion. It's creating experiences, or creating, whether it's content, whether it's images, like whatever you're going to end up marketing, whatever your product, whatever your service is, the brand of it is, what does it feel like? So branding is all around emotions, like the foundation of it, really, right? So whether it's colors to elicit an emotion, whether it's fashion to inspire you to feel a certain way, whether it's imagery that reflects or projects or creates an experience that then the viewer will have a certain emotion, whatever that is. Those are just a few examples, right? Values, that's emotion. Like the root of values, we always have, our deepest core values stem from our why. It stems from the emotions that we have experienced. Or I should say the experiences that we've had that have created certain emotions. And that's why we align with certain brands and don't align with other certain brands. Okay, so this goes, yes, especially, if you have a product service, yes, but I specialize also in personal branding. So that's also one of the easiest ways, because you are able to then create an emotional experience, hopefully, ideally. Right? But that goes into the personality aspect of the personal brand. Okay. So quick little plug. If you haven't downloaded the Profitable Personal Brand ebook or my masterclass, Profitable Personal Brand Masterclass, you're going to want to check those out. Everything's on the website, blah, blah, blah. You all know where. So it's about emotion. So that's the core factor of a brand. And that's the only thing that you really need to remember. So no matter what it is that you're doing, it's how is this going to create an experience that will generate an emotion. That's all. It's the reason we go see movies. It's the reason why we desire certain things or reject certain things. All of that is around emotions. And then step 2 to building that brand. And that kind of goes, just jumping back to that step 1 on those of my visionaries, my multi-creatives, those of you like myself who want to put multiple different aspects into your service, your product, something like that. One of the key elements, and I love teaching this because it's one of the key elements to help define a personal brand as how you are unique. And it's how you can take all of those creative ideas that other people might be saying, right, or other the industry might tell you to niche down into one single thing. It's how you can take those multiple different ideas that would be separate niches and put them all into or under an umbrella that is a methodology. So if you don't already have, if this is ideally for service-based, right? So if you're coaching, consulting, something like that, creating your, I like to call it a signature system, right? Or your method, your formula, your roadmap, your blueprint, like whatever that is, and then naming it. And this ideally would come from, you've either done so much work that you've recognized a pattern and that now you can create a formula with, or if you're just starting with something and this is service-based, maybe the certifications or the training or the education, whatever it is that you have had, mixed with the things that you were your innate skills that nobody else can't, right? Nobody else taught you. And you didn't buy, but those innate skills, you kind of combine those into a hybrid, and that becomes the signature system, this methodology. And you put that together and turn it into a formula, right? So that's one of the ways that we create this signature system, is like combining all of those things. And I'm a nerd for blueprints. So I have a blueprint for everything, just to help systemize and make it easy so that you can, right, find it and sort of, dig into the core and then have it organized onto a really clear bullet pointed spreadsheet, right? So then you know what your formula is, you know what your methodology is, and you can either reference back to it or you can build upon it. Now, if this is for a product that you're selling, then what is maybe the unique blend of this product, or something that makes it its own unique aspect, right? Its own unique, I can't say method for that. What would a product be? Yeah, I'm going to say formula, something like that, right? Again, I'm generalizing this obviously because everybody's going to be different. So you either have products or services, and each one is going to be different depending on what's up. Everybody is just jumping on. Okay. So that is number 2 for building the brand. That should, I really want to say that should be step 1. If it wasn't for, defining who you want to work with. So, all right. Now, step number 3, create valuable content. Create valuable content. Create valuable content. There's a lot of content out there. Not all of it is valuable. And so valuable would be educating on your specific expertise or the thing that you know a lot about, right? And so showcasing that through the different platforms. Those of you who have been following me for a while, you know this. When I first started, we were doing an Instagram live. This is when Instagram was still sort of like coming up, but we were doing an Instagram live every single week for 4.5 years. God, it was good though. It was so good. Valuable content, making it about everybody else, asking questions. That was the foundation of every week. It was, what are your questions? And just showing up and answering. And then, just as like a quick little like caveat, one of the things that was successful was taking, like, I would go back through and listen to the lives that I would do, and I would write down all of the questions that everybody asked that I didn't get to. And then I found just the same pattern of the top questions that everybody was asking based on the right problems, the challenges that they were having. And then that is what I turned into a course. So if you don't already know, right, my background is like a lot, like I've made, probably like 3 solid, like long-term courses, and then about like 4 more small, medium courses, right? Everything with its own sort of process and blueprints and all of that stuff. But everything stemmed from creating the content and then listening for what are those deeper challenges? What are those questions being asked, right? So utilize different platforms. Don't always go with what everybody says is on trend, right? So even if, like, some people are like, I am not an Instagram person. I'm like, that is totally okay. Find where it feels good for you. Because I started on other platforms and they didn't feel as good. And then, so you've got to like almost like find the energy. Don't go by what everybody else is telling you is popular, right? It goes for, I feel like, diets. It goes for just about everything in life. Go with trusting your intuition, always first and foremost, right? So you have to come from the perspective of what feels good, where does it feel good, where does this feel most correct for me? Because that's your intuition, and that is going to take you like light years ahead into success than listening to what everybody says is the perfect step-by-step process for you, right? So even this step-by-step process, take this. If something feels like you want to switch it or shift it or whatever, trust, that was my phone. Trust your gut. Okay. So value-based content, leveraging that content, working with other people as well, doing collaborations, doing split lives. Maybe it's podcasts and it's interviews, right? Stuff like that. Featuring, highlighting other people. You guys saw the last couple of weeks, I asked a couple of my girlfriends to come on. We're all so busy. So I'm so grateful to the girls who could jump on, the badass ladies. And then just what other areas can you be on, right? I had started a podcast that didn't feel fully correct. This year, it's actually feeling a little bit more correct. So I'm going to be kicking that up a lot more. But at the time, it didn't, you got to trust what feels in alignment, because that's where you're going to give the most value, because you're going to feel good about it. It's going to feel correct for you. Don't do something that doesn't feel correct just because it's popular, right? Okay. Hang on. Do we have any questions on that? We're good. Let me jump over to the live real quick. Sorry if you guys are just jumping on, or if you're watching the replay. Okay, cool. We're good. So, and if you're just tuning in, we're doing the 6 steps that I use to get to the first 6 figures. So you're either starting or you're starting something again new. All right, number 4, building your network. Build your network. Put this in big bold letters. Build your network. No self-made millionaire, billionaire, just anybody who started from just scratch and built something, meaning like you are not like your first gen, you are not second generation, you're not taking over a company, or you didn't come from like money or anything like that. Nothing wrong with any of those, but just self-made is really about like first generation builders starting something literally from scratch. But no self-made person has ever said that they did it without their network. And so whether that's, sometimes it's your family first, sometimes it's your friends. And then of course, ideally it would be joint ventures, partnerships, collaborations, all of that stuff, right? No self-made person has ever said that they did anything without their network. It's so key. If nothing else, just for support system, right? It's not guaranteed that you're going to have it. So again, it always comes down to you. It's never guaranteed. And there is always, did the lawnmowers start? They did. So I don't know if you guys can hear that, but either way, we're going to keep it going because that's life, right? So your network is so important. And so building that, going to like get out there more, to meeting more people. I hear this all the time where people are like, well, where do I go? Right? I moved to a new city. I didn't know anybody. Go to events, go to big events, get in the right rooms, go up to people, allow your extroverted self, even for those of you who are introverted. I know that it doesn't happen all the time, that you're not always introverted. Right? I'm introverted a lot of the times. And then when I got to go out there and who I need to be for others, then I allow my extroverted self to come out, and she gets to have fun and just be her like energetic go-getter. And then I can come back home and be like, let me cocoon and give me a hoodie and I won't talk to anybody. Right? But like, let your extroverted self come fully out and go to events, get in the right room, go up to people, go to conferences, go to seminars, there's always meetup groups, no matter what city you are, look up meetups.com. There is always something going on. Go to those, what are those things called again? Like, yes, there's networking events, but things that don't look like networking or come across as like networking events. I think I went to a couple, what do they call it? Pop-ups, right? Like those, there's always a couple different vendors and they all get together and then they go to a venue somewhere. Maybe it's like a coffee shop or whatever. So it's a sort of casual, but very social setting. And you just go and you talk to people. Don't go with the intention of like shoving your product, your service, your card or whatever, right? Nobody does that anymore. Some people do, right? But like, you heard it here. You heard it here. So don't go with that intention. go with, it always comes down to relationships, and it always comes down to, this goes back to brand too. It always comes down to what is the experience that you want to create with somebody and how you want them to feel, right? So I am a big component of like going and meeting people and just connecting and letting the rest of the room, while you're connecting with that person, like they're the only ones that matter in that moment. And so connect with them genuinely and truly. And right. And I've got this coming from somebody who has ADD sometimes. I'm like shiny object and things and shine, and like just so many different things going on and products. And right. Don't, if there's something sparkly, like don't even, right. I've got to like laser it in with somebody, because that like sparkly jewelry and coffee and shoes. Those are my, like, that will make my ADD just go right off. No, right. So, but there's nothing that I love more, even while that's all of that's going on. There's nothing that I love more than like truly connecting with somebody in that moment, so that it feels like you are the only two in the world, in the room, and everything else drops out. You know that feeling. Usually it's when we're like in a romantic situation, but it doesn't have to be romantic. You're just connecting with somebody. I feel like to a certain extent, like have we lost some of that sometimes? Like there's always, people are so quick to like want the next thing, that we stopped being intentionally connecting with people, and like let somebody be with you and let yourself be with them, and let that be okay. And like, God, sometimes it is just a breath of fresh air. Okay. So all of that to say, go network, but be intentional about how you're networking, and not just going to like shove. Right. And I'm not saying, right, anybody listening, this is right. So this should not be triggering, but y'all know those people that I'm talking about. Right. And so this is just a reminder, but go with then that just intention of like, I want to just go and connect with people. Like, let me go see who I'm going to meet, and then see what happens, because that's a true network. Because it's not about, oh, who can somebody connect you with for business? It's, do we like each other? Like, do we vibe? Do we jam? Like, is this cool? Is this good energy? Like same vibe tribe? And then from there, everything else is easy. From there, you want to connect other people, but that's not where the first intention comes from, right? So it's just, sometimes I think it's easy to forget that. So this is just, again, reminder, okay? But building your network. So whether it's on social media or social platforms, blogs, podcasts, things like that, or then in social environments, events, seminars, networks, pop-ups, whatever it is. And then partnerships, JVs. Do you have a list? One of the mistakes that I just wish I didn't make early on in my business, I didn't make a resource list of like people that I wanted to partnership, like, and not like crazy deep, like negotiated terms partnership. I mean, like joint venture, right? JV, referrals, affiliates, anything, collaborations, things like that. Early on, I didn't make a list and consciously and intentionally set that, like, that person would be awesome, right? And maybe go and connect with them somehow, or find somebody who could connect me with that person. It wasn't as intentional, right? So just take it from me. One of the mistakes that I wish I had done sooner was making an actual tangible list of network I didn't have yet. Network, the like the desired network, that part. Who would I want to partnership with or JV, or who would I want to collaborate with? And who knows what? Don't worry about the how. Don't worry about like, how would that work? And what would we do? Don't worry about that. Just, again, following that instinct of like, ooh, what feels fun? Would that person feel fun to like maybe do something with? I always look at like musical artists, right? You all have your independent brands. Artists have their own individual, they're an artist brand, right? I'm not gonna like name names, but like pick a solo artist that you love, right? And then, or pick two. So pick two separate solo artists. And now we all know, like we've seen it so many different times, they do mashups together, or they do one song. And it's this really cool collaborative thing that is just like isolated as its own, right? It's a single. single. Maybe they go on to make a whole album together. I don't know, but it doesn't always have to be as complicated as we make it, where it could just be like, cool, you have two solo artists. And if you came together and collaborated, what would that song be? And who would that song help? And what would it sound like? And without getting too into the details of the how, right? But just who would you, like, I'm almost getting ahead of myself, like reel it back. Who would feel really fun to like jam out with? That part, that part. Okay. So that's 4, that's building your network. Okay. I have a client in like 30 minutes. So we're going to go quick today. Number 5, high quality services. I feel like this goes without saying. I really do. But this does go back to method. So the more that you can have your own method, the more that you can really position that as either, whether you call it higher ticket or high value or whatever. It doesn't mean that any services that are not a method are not good quality and high value, but it's what is that exceptional service that you're going to provide for them? How is that going to be different? That's also right, brand. What experiences in your services are you going to provide for them that might be different, or just have your extra, like your unique skills that you just feel so good at when you're working with people? What is it that you want to include? And maybe that's different from other people, or maybe that's just uniquely to you, even if it's similar to how other people might do it. But what are those, like that exceptional service that you're going to have, those experiences that you want to create with people within the services that you offer? And then with that methodology, what is unique about that? How is that different? Those are all quality, premium services. Processes, blueprints, anything that you can sort of systemize, right? That's really going to help create that, what's the word I want? Consistent, consistent quality. I remember when I first started, I didn't have my method down at all because I had just started and I was still doing this. Honestly, sometimes I was doing complementary services because I wanted to learn and I wanted to get to know people and I wanted to know deeper, like what their challenges were. But after doing so many sessions, I moved on from free. But after I did so many sessions, I recognized this pattern that each person was hitting. This was in the personal development space, right? So I still applied it once I moved into business because everybody that would come to me was asking the same questions. And then when I moved into teaching them how I built my business, similar questions would come up. And so then I knew what I did, and then you find the system. One of the easiest ways is finding the system from doing it. But I remember when I first started and somebody was like, they even asked me, they were like, do you have a methodology? And I was like, I was just honest. I was like, no, each process is very, intuitive with each person, right? That's where I was, nothing wrong with it. That's where some people start. And then I just remember the feeling that person had where they're like, oh, like it was almost like this kind of like let down. And they're like, well, how are you going to tell me where I'm going to go? How are you going to get me from like here to there? And it was in that moment, God, it was such a great teaching moment. I feel like this is like the 6 steps, but like the 6 mistakes that I did to not do, right? So learn from mine, but it was such a good learning moment in that for me, because I was like, wow, Trust is built when you have a really like a proven methodology, a proven system. That was the teaching moment for me, where I was like, this person would feel so trusting and so much more certain with me supporting them. Doesn't mean that they didn't believe in me. It doesn't mean that they didn't believe that I could help them, but for them, there was greater trust if there was a proven process. It was mind-blowing. So that is one of the reasons why I am so adamant about when we are building out, whether it's your course or your business model, it's building your signature method, right? And of course, there's a blueprint for that because I'm OCD with blueprints. It's so important. And it's, like I said, it was my teaching moment. And I always give and I always teach the things that I created and learned from and then did. And the minute after that, honestly, my business skyrocketed. well, I should say to the next tier, right? So again, this is how to get to the first 6 figures. So it got to that next level, right? And so have like that really elevated it to being higher quality service, consistent quality, that they knew that they would be following something consistent and that it would then be backed by the experience that I would be creating for them. And they could go and, tell their friends about it. Like, not only did she do this, this, and this, but like we followed a system. And so every week, like it was something specific. And right, they don't always say, right, they don't say how or what we did specifically, but it really helps with that like word of mouth support and people referring people back to you, because they don't just say, oh yeah, we kind of just did something. They're like, no, she had a system and it's called this. We did this, this, and this. It's a game changer for elevating to higher quality, or elevating your quality services, or elevating your services to be more quality. Because the more that you elevate them to be more quality, the more you can elevate them to be in the higher price bracket. And why is that? It's not just, and I want to just briefly touch on this because there are some people, okay, I'm just going to call it out. Just truth. There are some people who charge premium, like high ticket prices, who are not delivering the quality and don't have a methodology, because there is this rule of thought that is taught that is, if you just price something high, then people will think it's valuable. And I just want to like highlight that in big pink Sharpie, because while that's true for the school of thought, if you're not then also providing the value when this happens, and I've heard rumors, not going to name names, because then if you do that and then those people do that and then they're not providing the value, oh, that's damage of the brand, reputation, right there, right? And we're not talking like gossip of reputation. That's a whole other video, right? This is, does your price match the value that you're providing? Or does their price match the value that they're providing? And when it doesn't, it's a real letdown for people, and it's very hard to recover from. And the reason why I'm saying that is, like I said, I've heard the rumors. I've also experienced from other people that I was like, oh, okay, and it's higher ticket. And then it was just like not the value. It was a total letdown for me. So over deliver every time. Just heard it here. Over deliver every time, no matter how long you're in business. Come from that perspective. I often tell people, I'm like, I would rather fire hose you with so much information that you're like, okay, Sarah, this is like a lot and you're going to help me through this, right? I'm like, yes, every step of the way I will handhold you, right? Or at least in a group. If you're not one-on-one with me, then at least in a group. But I would rather fire hose and over deliver than have anybody ever feel like they got gypped or that they feel like it wasn't enough. And that has been consistent throughout everything that I do. So it's one of my brand values. Oh, and I just want to pass it on. So obviously feel into whether that's correct to you, but if you're resonating with that, then just run with that, because for all the reasons that I just said, we want high quality services and consistent quality. And yes, again, like I said, that can bring you to allowing you to charge and feeling confident, let's just say, feeling confident to charge premium prices because you know the value that you're delivering. That's the other thing. Some people like sometimes feel if this resonates for you, but I've had this conversation with other previous clients and it's like, oh, how can I charge that? And then two things, when we get really clear on their brand story and when we develop a signature method, instantly they're like, oh my gosh, this is good shit. Like, not even kidding. They're like, okay, yeah. And then they get like, just the whole energy changes and instantly the confidence around, wait a second, this is like really good. But when it's still in that like just intuitive flow, it's like you don't really know yet. So it really allows you to create that structure and you can elevate your confidence and elevate into premium prices. And again, you're just making sure that the value is always there consistently. Okay. Talked enough on that. All right. We're already at 6, but we're already 40 minutes in. So are you guys still with me? Stay with me. If you're on the live, let me check in with you. And if you're watching the replay, hi loves. And if you're watching the replay, stick with me. Okay. So we're on the last one and then we will wrap it up with this. Where's my notes? Okay. The sixth step to reaching your first 6 figures. Number 6 is developing multiple revenue streams. If you watch the Profitable Personal Brand Masterclass, all of that's on the site. That is in the profit section. There's 3 phases into that one. Go watch it when it's time for you. You'll have it in there. But we talk about in there multiple revenue streams. No millionaire, also, side note, has ever become a millionaire with 1 revenue stream. I have, whether I talked with them personally or whether I've researched them or what they were doing, not one. Rare, I'll say, okay? Because I don't know, somebody's gonna be like, actually, Sarah. Okay, so correct me if you find one. Awesome. There are, I'm sure, exceptions to every dynamic, and it's rare. So how can you get, this is where my visionaries, my multi-creatives, right? Explore different revenue streams, explore group coaching if you're service-based, explore adding maybe some bonus products, tangible products. I had a client one time where like she put together like a care package that would come with every one of her coaching services. And it was like, it had other products, whether she got sponsored or whether she made some of them herself. So it was just another way to add value, but also kind of create additional aspects to her or additional revenue streams, right? And you could add it as an upsell. It was a quick, easy upsell. Tiny, right? Tiny aspect of an upsell. I think it was only like, I think it was like $100 upsell, something like that. Right? Oftentimes, if you've gotten any of my courses, right, there's always an option for like a bonus consult with me that is either extremely affordable or sometimes complimentary. Sometimes I'll offer that as a value, right? Your time is always more valuable, always, because it's one-on-one. So people aren't just getting you and your information one-on-one, they're getting your energy. And that is priceless. So make that top value. It's why, like, when I give complimentary like sessions or services, whatever, like that is, I show up, I over deliver in those sessions, but people also got to match at that level. And sometimes they're not ready for that, and that's okay. But like, you got to know, like, your time, your one-on-one time is the most valuable thing, because that's something you never get back. You can make a course, right? And then you can shoot it once and then you don't show up for that anymore after that, right? You can make multiple courses and that's multiple different revenue streams, but your time, your one-on-one time, priceless. So that can always be a really great like upsell. Some of you, like maybe you already have that. Again, this is, you're either just starting, you don't know this, or you're starting a new product or service. And if you haven't already implemented something like that in, oh gosh, it's big, super big. Let's see what else. And then just scaling to new levels, right? I feel like that's kind of like the notorious one that like everybody says, but like, how do you want to branch out? How do you, thinking about it of like, if you're starting here, how are you going to duplicate yourself in some way? Oftentimes, like some people were like, oh, Sarah, you were creating these amazing transformational techniques that worked for people. Why don't you do a certification? And that was one avenue. I will do that eventually, but that didn't feel correct for right then. And I took a completely different avenue because I also knew that I wanted to move into more of the agency model and helping people creating their businesses and creating like the thing that they're passionate about when they need those techniques, and being certified in that, that's time and place, right? But once I moved into more of the agency model, total game changer for how to duplicate. So I still do things myself. I still love doing one-on-one. I still love doing group. I still love launching new things. And how are you going to scale you? What model? It's either going to be within something that you're already doing. So you're either going to create multiple different products, different types of products, sister products, brother products, complementary products, or services. This is one of the other reasons why I love branding architecture, because whenever I start with anybody, or whether you're like starting again, making that map of the branding architecture is always first. It goes a little bit with like finding your niche and all of that stuff. It's brand architecture. So that's kind of why like it's part of the brand DNA. Brand archetypes, brand architecture, and then brand DNA. So I'll say it with those three, right? So it's in that sort of brand suite. And I have my own methods for that, but it is, so that's like the roadmap for everything. So if these bullet points aren't like, that's kind of the broad strokes roadmap, the architecture is this 6th step, this multiple revenue streams. How is that going to look across your business? Do you want to write a book? Eventually, that's a product. That would be another, avenue on your architecture. Do you want to speak on stages? That's over here with like how you're going to show up in time and energy that you're going to give. Do you have products that you want to offer that's either going to be complementary or something different? And that would be over here. Oftentimes I work with people and they have a business and then they need their personal brand, right? So they've got one brand over here that's already either generating, or they need to up level it and market it and scale it. But then they also need, one of the ways to scale is then, right, they haven't positioned their personal brand, or they haven't they haven't come out from behind the business and then highlighted their own personal brand that then helps promote the business. But then it's like, what does that look like? And how do we organize this? And then what are things over here? Usually when it's a personal brand, we position it as like your speaker brand, your author brand, your coach consultant brand that has services and those things like that, right? And then you have whatever is over here that is the business, and what's in the business, and what does the business offer, right? So if that kind of makes sense, that's how, at least one of the tools that I use to roadmap, to fully see like what are all the possibilities that we want to do. And if you've never done an architecture, like, oh, that's off, any consultation session, we're doing architecture, because one, I need to know what people have, but then I also want to know, if you're the visionary, if you're the multi-creative, what are all those ideas? And some of those ideas are either going to fit in this architecture, or they're not. Doesn't mean that they can't all be done, but it might be another business over here. It might be another business, like spider web it out. If nothing else, it's so fulfilling for that multi-creative mind of yours that then you can see it all. It's like, oh gosh, it's so rewarding. It's all, I can see it. It's really helpful. But then from there, you can actually strategize. You can't strategize a map you don't have. So it's super, super important for scaling, whether it's products or services, and whether that's business or personal brand, or business and personal brand. Okay, so 47 minutes, not bad for at least an overview of the 6 steps that I used and all the mistakes that I wish I had learned sooner in getting to that first 6 figures. So print this out. Write it, print it out. Who has one of those anymore? Either put it on your tab next to your calendar on your computer and have it be the first thing that you look at in the morning, or write it on a notepad and put it on your refrigerator or on your board or wherever it is that you're going to be able to see it every single day, so that you can at least be reminded of where you want to go, what you want to be able to do. This is more than a goals list. This is, how are you going to hit that first 6 figures? And again, you are either just starting and you want to hit it, or you're starting something new. You've already been in the game a minute, but maybe you're rebranding, starting something new again. And these are just, you want to hit that first 6 figures with this next thing that you're doing. Again, there are different things that you need to do at every next level, but I just keep hearing so many times, like, people are like, oh, the 6 figure, right? It's like one of those buzzwords, 6 figures, 7 figures, so without being overly cheesy and redundant of like the keyword of it, there are steps and strategies at each level, and remembering them, knowing them, being consistent with them, but just know that this is that first 6 figures. But I keep hearing all the time, like, oh, if I can just get here. So write it out, put it on a tab, open window somewhere over here so that you can see it for whatever your particular goals are. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. If you don't already, or if you haven't already downloaded the Profitable Personal Brand ebook, that's on the website. Go check that out. That's ideally you either have a personal brand and you need those steps, checklists, things to do to elevate that, or you are somebody where you're coming out from behind your business and you really need to be positioning your personal brand so that then you can scale, so that then you can promote and market that business that you have wherever you're at. Really good ebook. I just kicked it off this year. So it's brand new. There's tons of other goodies on my website, but that's the newest one, the Profitable Personal Brand ebook. It's on the site. Go check that out. And let me double check if we have any questions. I think a lot of you were just listening, which I love. So thank you guys all. Yes, cool. Thank you guys all for jumping on the live. This is episode 11. Oh my gosh. We're almost done with the series. There will be more. But of course, if you ever have any questions, either find me on Instagram or find me on LinkedIn. Best place is join the newsletter. So if you download the ebook, then that will put you into my newsletter community over there. Love you guys. Hope